And then 2005, they released Third World Genocide. Now, this album doesn't have a lot of good reviews for it, but personally, I like it. I think it's good. You know, it's Nuclear Assault sounding like Nuclear Assault, in my opinion. You know, they didn't try to update their sound or, you know, make any big changes. You know, um, also to know on this one, Anthony Bramante was no longer with the band, and Eric Burke, who played in Brutal Truth with Dan Loker, plays lead guitar on this album. So the opening track for World Genocide is pretty good. It's a bit slower, but you know, it's a slower opening track, but still a good song. Price of Freedom, that might be one of my favorites on the album. They do a video for that. It's got a super cool opening catchy riff, and then, you know, another slow down in the middle with some acoustic in there. And, you know, like I said, I do enjoy that they do that. And, you know, what else? It's a good album, you know. I think it's worth picking up if you can find it. If you're a fan of the band and like, you know, generally like all their stuff. If you're just into the earlier stuff, the first few albums, and then, you know, not so much anything else, then probably won't like it. But, you know, if you have a little bit of an open mind, like I said, it's Nuclear Assault. It's nothing drastically different, you know, than any of the other stuff. And so yeah, and the band, you know, did a lot of touring, and there was talk of maybe another album coming out. You know, Glenn Evans, the drummer, he was posting a lot about what they were up to, what they were planning. So then they ended up releasing the 4-song EP Pounder, and to me this had more of a 80s, late 80s sound, especially in the production. And, you know, the songwriting was more reminiscent of the earlier period of Nuclear Assault, maybe more so than Third World Genocide. You know, the 4 songs, Pounder, pretty good. Lies, Analog Man, they did a video for that as well. That's a good song. And the closing track, which is a little bit slower, I like that too. Died in Your Arms. So they ended up, you know, doing more touring, and basically, eventually, you know, decided they were going to retire again. And they didn't put out any more, you know, studio material. So seems like basically this might be the you know, the end of the band, I guess. But you know, you never know. Maybe they'll do some reunion shows at some point. I don't know. Would be nice. Um, I never did see Nuclear Assault live. I've seen Brutal Truth a few times, and once was right next to Dan Loker. He was watching one of the opening bands, and you know, he was shoulder to shoulder next to me, and I really wanted to say something, but, you know, just say hey, hello, whatever. But I felt, I don't know, a little awkward about it. You know, I didn't have any problem, you know, talking with musicians from bands, like if they're kind of wandering around and, you know, basically like they're looking to talk to people. But, you know, when they're watching the show, I'm sure he wouldn't have cared, but I just didn't have the nerve to say anything. But would have been cool to talk to him, just to, or get a picture or whatever, but didn't happen. So anyway, I guess I'll show some stuff. You know, a lot of their stuff I think is maybe not so easy to find anymore, their releases. Not all of them, of course. You know, a lot of stuff's been reissued, remastered, but some of the albums I think are difficult to find. But I'll start with yeah, the cassette, Game Over, the one that started it all for me. And I don't generally keep a lot of my cassettes when I got them on CD, but I have a handful that I have kept either for, you know, nostalgia reasons, or like for this one, like I mentioned, there's the bonus track, Lesbians, that's only on the cassette and the vinyl. So I basically held on to this because I didn't have it on CD for a long time, but I'll get to that. And said I got the Brain Death cassette, 3-song EP, you know, all good songs on that one. And the Game Over with the Plague on CD, but unfortunately it doesn't include Lesbians. So, um, but still, it's very cool to have that. Um, both those on CD, not just the vinyl of the Plague. I don't think it's ever been released by itself on CD. The Plague, it would be cool. I'd like to have it as a standalone CD release, but I don't think they've done that. And then one that's very hard to find and very expensive at the point right now is Survive. And however, about 10 years ago, I did find a reissue of Survive, which it's remastered and has the song Stand Up, which was released on the Fight to Be Free EP, but not on Survive. And it's a pretty good song. It's a good addition. I wish I would have just put that on the album regularly, other than the Good Times, Bad Times cover. Maybe put that as a bonus song somewhere, but anyway. And as I mentioned, the Fight to Be Free, here's the CD release, and this one includes the Brain Death EP also, so it's 6 songs. So this is a great release to have. I'm glad I was able to get a copy of that. And as I mentioned, Handle With Care, in my opinion, overall their best album. That one I think is not difficult to find on CD. And the Live at Hammersmith Odeon from that tour, worth having if you're a big fan of the band, I think. And Out of Order, this one I think is hard to find now, unless you're really, really into the band and want to have everything. I wouldn't worry too much about getting it. I think it might also be available digitally though. So if you want to have the complete collection and you don't mind just having a digital download. And then Something Wicked. This was also reissued not long ago, I think in Japan. I do have that as well somewhere. But this is the 93 release of Something Wicked. Like I said, not too bad. I think it's worth picking up if you can find it and it's not terribly expensive. Then the Alive Again. Like I said, pretty good live album. Probably the best one. I mean, they haven't released a lot of live albums, but compared with Live at Hammersmith, I think this one's better. Better sound. And the Third World Genocide. I do like it. Like I said, not exactly critically acclaimed, but I do like it. And Pounder EP. And this year's a compilation, and Atomic Waste Demos and Rehearsals. And the main reason I got this one is because the song Lesbians, the studio version, is on this CD, and that's the main reason I got it. I mean, there's other cool stuff on here, 23 tracks actually, including that Stand Up track that was, I guess, kind of a bonus for the Survive sessions. I do have the Fight to Be Free 3-song cassette as well. And a few DVDs. This is Radiation Sickness. It was recorded in 1987, so it's got songs from Game Over and The Plague. And this version from Japan was released in 2007. Handle With Care European Tour VHS. Pretty good show, a lot of good songs, about 22 songs on it. So everything up to Handle With Care on there as far as song choice. And this is a DVD they released in 2006. I think it was recorded in 2005 at a show, but it's really good, and there's some good bonus stuff on here. Louder, Harder, Faster. Worth picking up. And I do have a few vinyls. I don't have them all here to show, but just a few. Of course, the almighty Game Over on High Roller Records, and pretty cool release, and colored version as well. It's like a clear with orange. And the original, I picked this up brand new at the store when I was 12 years old. The Plague on vinyl. I think not in too bad shape for being that old, and no protection for it really. But yeah, it's cool to have this on vinyl and handle with care. Now this pressing is not that old. This is a newer pressing. I do have a different version, an older version, not an original, but um, it's good to have that on vinyl. So that's pretty much it. Thank you.